fucking shotgun.
How?
What's going on, Goomy Gang, and welcome back to another shotgun video for Warzone. Now, with the incoming nerfs to the double barrel akimbo and the Einhorn revolving shotgun, I didn't want to make any videos on these two particular guns again until these nerfs happen, because I have a feeling it's going to touch the gun in lots of different ways. I hope not, but we'll see. But no, the nerfs aren't 100% confirmed by Raven, but these guns are starting to play Warzone a lot, and people are not happy, especially on social media. And yes, I do think that these two guns need heavy nerfs, but they should still one-tap and two-tap like they currently do, just not as far, obviously. But since I won't make a video on these yet, let's delve into everyone's favorite ammo type for shotguns, the slugs. Slugs were notorious back in the early days of Warzone for being the most garbage attachment to ever grace the Warzone. Can you say 4 point-blank headshots with a pump action? It's really that bad, or it used to be. Since then, they've gotten more use and they've gotten buffs and more notoriety, and today we're going to cover one of the strongest ones we currently have for the pump actions, at least, the combat shotgun. As always, if you want my preferred or recommended class setups to run, check out the timestamps below, you filthy animals. Also, the gameplay at some point in this video is a recording on my capture card of a recording of a PS5 video capture, so sorry if it looks a bit strange or off compared to usual. My Elgato had a little glitch in the system and it wasn't working, and I was going to be damned if I was going to lose a decent gameplay using slugs. So without further ado, let's get started. The combat shotgun by default is chambered in 16 gauge. With this shotgun and most that have it, 16 gauge is really weak, and I don't recommend ever using it with any attachment, to be honest. 12 gauge is always the go-to, especially for the combat shotgun. But if you must know, 16 gauge with slugs can 2-tap headshot up close, and it takes 3 body shots to kill. That's really all you need to know, that 16 gauge is awful. Point blank, you're not really doing much damage, so further out, it's just going to be worse. I won't bother going into ranges because, to be honest, I don't think it's really important when 12 gauge is just better in every single way except maybe rate of fire, and you should never ever run 16 gauge. But if you don't believe me, go ahead and try running them yourself. With that being said, let's move on to 12 gauge, which is how slugs should behave in my opinion. With 12 gauge equipped, you have a 15 meter max damage range, and in this range it takes 2 torso shots to kill, meaning upper thigh and up, and then 1 tap headshots. This is pretty exciting stuff because now, besides the 725, we have a slug shotgun that can actually one-shot kill with a headshot outside of the usual like 3 meters like most others can. So up to 15 meters, all it takes is 1 tap to the head. If you hit hands or legs though, it usually ends up taking about 3 shots, so as usual, don't hit those spots. But like I said, 1-shot headshot, that's pretty awesome, that's really exciting. But I will say it's really hard to do consistently, as you might expect. One of the huge downsides of slugs with Vanguard shotguns in particular is that they hurt your aim down sight speed by about 30% at least, which is a pretty significant hit. So you have to use some attachments to get that back, but on the combat shotgun, sadly, it will never feel snappy like the Model 680 did, or the other shotguns feel, at least the slug shotguns in Modern Warfare, but you can make up for it with more power. Once you hit outside of 15 meters and up to about 30-ish meters, it takes about 3 body shots, but it's still a 2 headshot kill. And then outside of that, it's still going to be 2 headshots, which is really nice. So you can snipe, but it's going to take 2 headshots. So if you hit the head, usually it'll take 1 less shot. So maybe 1 headshot and 1 body shot is all you need to get a kill, generally. But again, this means you got to hit the head. And considering most players don't aim down sights with shotguns, it's going to be a weird adjustment to make. One thing about slugs also that's hard to deal with in Warzone is that we have muzzle velocity to deal with, which is usually pretty slow on slugs. Thankfully, on this particular shotgun, the muzzle velocity seems to be much better than before with Modern Warfare slug shotguns. The base combat at around 80 meters only took about 117 milliseconds, which is kind of like assault rifle levels, really, and it would usually be worse with a Modern Warfare shotgun, a lot worse actually. Attachments don't really seem to help with it much either, but it's already pretty good, so no worries there. Just know that you have to lead targets past maybe 100 meters or so, but I don't recommend usually using slugs at that range unless you're just kind of having fun. Also, accuracy is an important stat to keep in mind with slugs because the slug does not always go where you aim exactly, which we are kind of used to since Vanguard guns, they had that bloom effect where it was almost like aim down sight spread, but slugs have always been more pronounced in those guns anyway. Now, stacking accuracy attachments makes using this gun a lot more consistent because at further ranges, you won't be missing your shots as often. You'll actually get a headshot if you're aiming at the head, whereas if you didn't really pay attention to accuracy, it might veer off to the right or left, and you might be thinking to yourself, how the hell did I miss? Now, while I don't recommend necessarily sniping with these things, You can if you focus on accuracy, and it does make getting headshots a lot easier at further distances. Now, I'd recommend using a couple of attachment slots for accuracy and then some for sprint to fire speed, since this gun really needs it. Now, when it comes to barrels for range, we have a few to choose from. The precision barrel supposedly increases headshot damage, but it isn't enough to make a difference. It's no real difference at all, and it does hurt torso damage by a few ticks. It doesn't really change the time to kill or how many shots it takes at all. The damage reduction is just really not making a difference at all. So it's not a bad barrel, and it gives you an extra meter of range, so it isn't completely useless. But the most important thing about this one is that it is the most accurate of the barrels, so it's a good barrel to run if you can manage losing a bit of sprint to fire speed. The two damage barrels, the Chariot and the Sawed-Off, don't do anything but hurt range, except the Sawed-Off does increase your movement speed by about 4%, so it's a good attachment if you want to be more mobile and quick on your feet, but it does make you slightly less accurate, so be warned and only use this at closer ranges. The big barrel, the 23-inch flammable barrel, the huge barrel, gives you an 18-meter max damage range, so it's an okay boost, but it hurts movement speed by a huge amount. I think it was like 7 to 8%, and it just isn't worth it in my opinion. The best overall barrel is probably the last, which is the flammable number 3 barrel for more balanced gameplay, because basically it just really tightens your hipfire spread by quite a bit. And since we'll be using sprint to fire grips that also help hipfire accuracy, it's actually really nice because it lets you hipfire the gun more consistently if you need to. And I stress that last part because with slugs, you never want to hipfire unless absolutely needed up close. And having this super tight hipfire reticle makes it much easier. So I say this is probably the best barrel for most people since the range ones don't help that much and it's already got a good one-shot potential. Then I would say that the precision barrel is probably the next best for more accurate sniping kind of stuff. And then the Sawed-Off barrel, which does hurt range but gives you 4% movement speed. For my preferred class on this gun, there's a few different ways to kit it, but I found that this is probably the most balanced overall, where you can rush a little bit, it's good at medium range, it's got good accuracy, so this is kind of the best overall build, I would say. First, you want to use that choke, because even though this is a slug, the choke still does help with that hip fire and the accuracy. It kind of helps tighten things up just a little bit more. Then we have the 18-inch precision barrel, which helps a lot with the accuracy for this gun. It's probably the best attachment to run for having your slugs go exactly where you aim. Then we have the slate reflector, which is optional. I usually don't run an optic, but sometimes I do, and it feels pretty good when I do, so it's up to you. It's all preference. Then the GCG 2M wire stock, which is the best in class for sprint to fire speed, as it gives us a 10% bonus, which is more than the other stocks. Then we have the pistol grip underbarrel attachment and the fabric grip rear grip, which all help with sprint to fire speed as well as the aim down sights time, which is really important for this one because it has a very slow aim down sights time. Then we have the 12 gauge 5-round tube and slug rounds, of course. We do have a bunch of different perks we can use. For perk 1, I usually just go with Wreck. I mean, there's a bunch of different ones that are handy. Momentum is good, Frenzy is good, Sleight of Hand. Vital, not really worth it on the torso shots. It doesn't really help that much more damage, so you don't really need it. Disabled, don't really use it. Steady, doesn't really help at all. So Wreck, Sleight of Hand, Momentum, and Frenzy are the ones I usually use. And then we have perk 2, which I usually just go with Quick, because having a faster sprint speed is always a good thing. As for my overall thoughts on the slugs on this particular gun, I think they're great, but I think it's also really difficult to use because we lack a lot of mobility with this shotgun and the aim down sight speed is so slow. It can be a challenge to go from the Model 680 with its like really fast sprint to fire speed and great aim down sight speed to go to this one, but we are getting a lot more power with this one, so it kind of makes up for it. I think that this one is a lot better for overall kind of slug sniping, whereas the Model 680 was a little bit better up close since you still need 2 torso shots within 10 meters, but you are a lot quicker on your feet. So it's a trade-off, but this one is a lot of fun, also very difficult. This is a high risk, high reward shotgun. It is not for the faint of heart, but it is incredibly satisfying. So I definitely encourage you guys, especially if you're a good player, give it a try sniping with some accuracy attachments on it, and let me know what you think. With all that being said, that's going to do it for this video, guys. So let me know in the comments below, what do you think of this shotgun with slugs? Have you tried any of the other slug shotguns with the Vanguard shotguns in particular? And let me know down below what you think of my classes. And with all that being said, I will see you guys in the next video.
Attention, pompon.